He thought he was doing his best friend a favor. 3 months later, his bank account had 7 figures, and a secret no one was supposed to find. Liam Barrett wasn't a failure, not exactly, more like a statistical probability. He was nearly 30, with a marketing degree gathering digital dust on a forgotten Google Drive, no savings, and a resume full of odd jobs that read like a cautionary tale. He still lived in Brooklyn, in an apartment that smelled vaguely of mildew and regret, with walls thin enough to hear his neighbors argue about cheating and rent in alternating languages. That morning, he was late to a job interview. The G train stalled, rain soaked through his only decent shirt, and a coffee spill sealed the look. So he did what he always did when the day began with failure. He ducked into the corner cafe on 54th and Main to hide for an hour. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of burnt espresso and wet coats. At a table in the back, already halfway through a mug of black coffee and 2 tabs deep into some kind of code, sat Josh Denner. "You're late," Josh muttered without looking up. Per usual. Liam dropped into the seat across from him and ran a hand through his damp hair. "Subway apocalypse. Also, hi. Nice to see you too." Josh looked up, finally. His eyes were bloodshot, face thinner than it had been 6 months ago, hair longer and messier. Startup mode, Liam thought. All in. No sleep. Just code and caffeine and the faint stench of desperation. "You still working on that productivity app thing?" Liam asked. Josh's lips curled slightly, not quite a smile. "Quick task. And it's not a thing. It's going to change the way people work. Version 4 is stable. Investors are circling. I just need to close a final piece." Liam raised an eyebrow. "And by piece, you mean?" "I need a second name on the founding documents. Just for optics." Liam laughed. "So you want me to pretend I co-founded your company?" Josh leaned forward. "You'd technically be listed as co-founder. But it's just paper. You don't have to do anything. I keep full voting control, IP, operations, everything. You'd own a small equity slice, but it's mostly to look good on pitch decks. Solo founders scare VCs. Why not ask someone in tech? Because I need someone I trust. Someone who won't screw me or complicate things. Look," he pulled out a folder from his backpack, "you sign here, I go raise $500,000, and if by some miracle this thing explodes, you get a small chunk. That's it." Liam stared at the document. It looked real. Legal. Boring. Which usually meant it mattered. He had nothing to lose. His bank account had $417.63. His landlord had stopped smiling 3 months ago. And Josh was right, Liam wasn't ambitious, but he wasn't dishonest either. If this helped, why not? "You sure?" Liam asked, pen hovering. Josh nodded. "One signature. You forget it ever happened." So he signed. They talked for another 20 minutes, nothing serious. Old memories. College stories. The time they'd both been rejected from a campus pitch contest because their idea involved renting puppies for stress relief. Then Josh left for another meeting, and Liam finished his coffee alone. 3 months passed. Liam forgot about QuickTask. He applied to 27 jobs, got 3 callbacks, 0 offers. He started picking up night shifts at a dive bar, where drunks offered more honesty than hiring managers ever did. Then one Tuesday morning, he opened his email and froze. Subject: Equity Vesting Notification, QuickTask Incorporated. From Captain Able Services to Liam Barrett. Congratulations, Mr. Barrett. As a founding equity holder of QuickTask Incorporated, your initial 4% stake has fully vested. Based on our latest valuation, your equity is currently worth $2.2 million. Please contact our finance team to discuss next steps or payout preferences. Liam read it 3 times. Thought it was a phishing scam. Then checked LinkedIn. Josh had gone quiet. But QuickTask. It had blown up. Featured in Forbes. Covered by TechCrunch. Endorsed by a senator as the future of remote productivity. Their app was on every major app store. Users in the hundreds of thousands. And Liam Barrett, bartender, failed marketer, chronic underachiever, was listed on their website under founders. His life, it seemed, had just changed. Completely. without him lifting a finger. Part 2, The Taste of Unlikely Wealth. Liam couldn't breathe. Not in a panic attack way, he'd had those before. This was quieter, stranger. Like he was standing in a dream he didn't remember falling asleep into. He reread the equity notice again, staring at the bold number like it might fade back into a typo. $2.2 million. He didn't have a plan for money like that. He barely had a plan for dinner. That night, he called the number in the email. A woman named Natalie from Equity Services walked him through verification, tax options, and something called liquidity preferences. Liam had no idea what she was saying, but when she mentioned direct deposit, he said yes before she finished the sentence. 3 days later, his checking account showed a balance he'd never seen outside of movies. $527,439.38, post-tax. First tranche. More to come. He stood staring at the ATM screen in disbelief. Then he walked 5 blocks without knowing where he was going, past bodegas and nail salons and strangers who had no idea the broke guy in the hoodie had just become someone else entirely. He didn't tell anyone at first. Not Kate, his older sister who had paid his rent more than once. Not his college friends. Not even his bartender co-workers, who noticed he stopped showing up for shifts but didn't press it. He spent the next 2 weeks in a kind of daze. He bought himself a used Tesla, mostly because he could. Rented a loft in Williamsburg with exposed brick and real sunlight. Ordered groceries instead of ramen. Booked a dentist appointment just because it felt like the responsible thing a wealthy person would do. But the strangest thing was what didn't happen. He didn't feel different. Not really. Sure, he could breathe easier. He stopped flinching when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. But beneath it all was this strange, gnawing sense that he hadn't earned any of it. It wasn't survivor's guilt. It was bystander's guilt. He'd signed a paper and done nothing else. And now the world wanted to call him co-founder. The calls started 2 weeks later. The first was from a recruiter. "We're excited to hear about your leadership at QuickTask," she said, her voice syrupy. "We'd love to explore opportunities with you at a new venture capital incubator." The second was from a podcast host. "You and Josh, man, what a story. We'd love to get you both on for our Founders Who Build series." He declined both. Politely. Then turned his phone on silent for 3 days. Finally, he broke the news to someone. Kate. She was folding laundry when he told her. "Wait," she said, socks half matching in her hands. "You're rich now." "I guess," Liam said. "On paper, yes." "How much?" He hesitated. "A couple million. Maybe more, depending on the next round." Kate stared at him. "Are you joking?" "I'm not." She dropped the socks. "Liam. What the hell are you doing here folding baby clothes? You should be on a beach. Or buying a company. Or at least hiring someone to make you a real haircut." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Kate studied him for a long time. Then said, quietly, "So maybe money didn't change you. Yet." Josh finally called him. Blocked number. Late at night. Liam picked up immediately. "Josh." "Hey," the voice said. Raspy. Exhausted. "Yeah. It's me." "Dude, where the hell have you been?" Josh was quiet for a long time. "We need to talk. In person. I can't explain this over the phone." Liam's pulse spiked. "Are you okay?" "No," Josh said. "And neither are you. Not if you still have that equity." The line went dead. Liam stared at the screen. That was the moment the money stopped feeling like luck. And started feeling like a ticking bomb. Liam couldn't breathe. Not in a panic attack way, he'd had those before. This was quieter, stranger. Like he was standing in a dream he didn't remember falling asleep into. He reread the equity notice again, staring at the bold number like it might fade back into a typo. $2.2 million. He didn't have a plan for money like that. He barely had a plan for dinner. That night, he called the number in the email. A woman named Natalie from Equity Services walked him through verification, tax options, and something called liquidity preferences. Liam had no idea what she was saying, but when she mentioned direct deposit, he said yes before she finished the sentence. 3 days later, his checking account showed a balance he'd never seen outside of movies. $527,439.38, post-tax. First tranche. More to come. He stood staring at the ATM screen in disbelief. Then he walked 5 blocks without knowing where he was going, past bodegas and nail salons and strangers who had no idea the broke guy in the hoodie had just become someone else entirely. He didn't tell anyone at first. Not Kate, his older sister who had paid his rent more than once. Not his college friends. Not even his bartender co-workers, who noticed he stopped showing up for shifts but didn't press it. He spent the next 2 weeks in a kind of daze. He bought himself a used Tesla, mostly because he could. Rented a loft in Williamsburg with exposed brick and real sunlight. Ordered groceries instead of ramen. Booked a dentist appointment just because it felt like the responsible thing a wealthy person would do. But the strangest thing was what didn't happen. He didn't feel different. Not really. Sure, he could breathe easier. He stopped flinching when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. But beneath it all was the strange, gnawing sense that he hadn't earned any of it. It wasn't survivor's guilt. It was bystander's guilt. He'd signed a paper and done nothing else. And now the world wanted to call him co-founder. The calls started 2 weeks later. The first was from a recruiter. "We're excited to hear about your leadership at QuickTask," she said, her voice syrupy. "We'd love to explore opportunities with you at a new venture capital incubator." The second was from a podcast host. "You and Josh, man, what a story. We'd love to get you both on for our Founders Who Build series." He declined both. Politely. Then turned his phone on silent for 3 days. Finally, he broke the news to someone. Kate. She was folding laundry when he told her. "Wait," she said, socks half matching in her hands. "You're rich now." "I guess," Liam said. "On paper, yes." "How much?" He hesitated. "A couple million. Maybe more, depending on the next round." Kate stared at him. "Are you joking?" "I'm not." She dropped the socks. "Liam. What the hell are you doing here folding baby clothes? You should be on a beach. Or buying a company. Or at least hiring someone to make you a real haircut." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Kate studied him for a long time. Then said, quietly, "So maybe money didn't change you." Yet. Josh finally called him. Blocked number. Late at night. Liam picked up immediately. "Josh." "Hey," the voice said. Raspy. Exhausted. "Yeah. It's me." "Dude, where the hell have you been?" Josh was quiet for a long time. "We need to talk. In person. I can't explain this over the phone." Liam's pulse spiked. "Are you okay?" "No," Josh said. "And neither are you. Not if you still have that equity." The line went dead. Liam stared at the screen. That was the moment the money stopped feeling like luck. And started feeling like a ticking bomb. Josh showed up 2 days later at Liam's new apartment. He looked nothing like the Josh from the QuickTask website. His once sharp jawline was softened with exhaustion, eyes sunken behind thick shadows, hair matted like he'd been sleeping in cars. Liam let him in without a word. Josh dropped his bag and collapsed onto the couch, staring at the ceiling like it might crack open and answer every question. "I was in D.C., he said. Then Philly. Then, nowhere." "Are you hiding from someone?" Liam asked carefully. Josh nodded. "Everyone." Liam sat across from him, heart thudding. "What's going on?" Josh leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I screwed up. We all did. But I'm the one holding the receipts." "What kind of receipts?" He pulled a flash drive from his pocket, same size and shape as a car key. QuickTask isn't just a productivity platform. That's what we pitched. That's what we wanted, at first. But then the data started flowing. Usage patterns. Behavioral metrics. Attention-retention curves. And the investors didn't just want growth, they wanted addiction. Liam's face hardened. Addiction. Josh nodded. We optimized the algorithm to keep users focused, but really, it kept them hooked. We made it harder to log out. Triggered reward loops. Built-in dopamine tricks. And we didn't disclose half of it. Liam stood up. You're telling me we built a digital slot machine? I'm telling you I did, Josh said. You just got pulled into the credits. Liam didn't know whether to feel relieved or betrayed. So why are you here? Because your name's still on the founding papers. You own part of this thing. If the feds come looking, and they will, you're on the list. Liam felt his knees weaken. And the investors, he asked. Josh laughed without humor. They don't care. They're too deep in. We're profitable now. Growing. If I go public with this, I destroy $1 billion company. And probably my life. He stood up and looked Liam in the eyes. But I can't live with it. And I don't think you can either. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He stared at the city lights through the window, the skyline that once looked like possibility now cast in shadow. He watched the videos on the drive. Josh had screen recordings, users sitting for 12 hours straight, caught in endless cycles of task flagging and micro-goal prompts, eyes glazed. Some wrote feedback in the app's forums. It works too well. I don't know how to stop using it. My work life is better. My real life is gone. I think this app is breaking me. Josh had built a monster disguised as a helper. And Liam had profited. Even if he hadn't known, he'd benefited. Lived in luxury off something that might have harmed people. That realization felt like a crack running through the foundation of who he thought he was. The next day, Liam met with an attorney. A real one, expensive, crisp suit, downtown office with skyline views. She read the founding documents, reviewed the digital evidence, then folded her hands. Technically, she said, you did nothing wrong. But if this becomes a public case, guilt won't be the issue. Optics will. Meaning. You were a co-founder. You made millions. And now you're holding damning evidence. If you come forward voluntarily, you might be protected under whistleblower statutes. If you wait, you become complicit. Liam looked down. So I have to choose between protecting myself and doing the right thing. The attorney didn't answer. She didn't need to. Josh was still at the apartment when Liam got home, scribbling in a notebook, muttering under his breath. You okay? Liam asked. Josh looked up. No. But I'm ready. For what? To burn it down. Liam sat next to him, heart pounding. And for the first time since he signed that piece of paper, he stopped feeling like a bystander. Josh was spiraling toward something dangerous, but focused, like a man who'd chosen the cliff and now had to jump. He had a plan. Not a smart one, not a safe one. But it was built on the one thing they still had, the truth. We release everything, he said. Anonymously first. Full documentation. Source code snapshots. Design memos. Show the dark patterns. The retention manipulations. Make it impossible for them to spin it. Liam nodded slowly. What about the legal blowback? Josh exhaled. I'm already toxic. If I go down, I might as well drag the real problem into the light. They spent 2 days formatting files, redacting user data, organizing folders. Josh worked like a man possessed, typing until his fingers cramped, cursing the names of board members and project leads who had turned a blind eye while cashing in. Liam handled the comms. He reached out to reporters he'd never met, using anonymous accounts, promising a leak that would expose one of the fastest-growing startups in the country. Only one responded, Owen Mercer. He was a freelance journalist now, once their college roommate, now a crusader with a knack for exposing the cracks behind clean tech narratives. Liam met him at a diner in Queens, old school, with cracked booths and burnt coffee. I thought you disappeared, Owen said. I did. Briefly. Then money found me. Owen raised an eyebrow. And now you want to ruin the party? No, Liam said. I want to tell the truth before the lie eats me alive. He handed over the drive. Everything's in there. Timeline, code changes, investor pressure, even internal Slack logs. Owen didn't ask how they got it. Just slid it into his coat and said, if this is what you say it is, you won't be anonymous for long. The article dropped 3 weeks later. Focus or fraud, how QuickTask engineered digital dependency. It was explosive. Josh's name was all over it. So was Liam's, framed carefully, truthfully. The accidental co-founder turned whistleblower. The man who signed a coffee-stained agreement and woke up a millionaire with blood on the money. The backlash was instant. QuickTask issued a bland denial. Investors scrambled. The CEO, someone Josh once called the optics guy, resigned within 48 hours. Then came the real storm, the regulators. The FTC opened an investigation. Class action lawyers descended. Several state attorneys general launched inquiries. And through it all, Liam waited. His bank account was frozen within a week. Not a punishment, just a precautionary measure, his lawyer said, while regulators assessed the extent of his involvement. The millions he hadn't spent were now untouchable. He moved out of the loft. Sold the Tesla. Packed his life into boxes and went back to Pittsburgh, where Kate offered him the basement without a trace of judgment. Figured you'd come home eventually, she said. He nodded, too tired to explain what that word even meant anymore. Josh wasn't as lucky. He was subpoenaed, grilled, dragged through headlines. Online mobs called him everything from a villain to a hero to a fraud. No one could decide if he was brave or just too late. But he stayed in the fight. He testified before a Senate subcommittee. Called for regulation. Spoke about ethical design and the price of growth at all costs culture. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He owned his part and named names. Liam watched the whole hearing from his phone, sitting on a folding chair at the community center where he was volunteering to teach teens about digital literacy. "Is that your app?" one of the kids asked. Liam paused. Then nodded. It was. Kind of. Not anymore. The kid squinted. "You look better without the tie." Liam laughed. "Yeah. Me too." Liam never did go viral. There were no TED Talks. No podcast tours. No book deal. His face never graced a magazine cover, and the world didn't label him a savior or a sellout. He became something rarer than either, forgotten. And that, in its own way, was a gift. He spent his days quietly. The community center in Pittsburgh gave him a part-time role running digital literacy workshops. Most of the teens there didn't know or care about QuickTask. They cared about getting jobs, avoiding scams, helping their parents pay the electric bill. Real things. Liam taught them how to build resumes, check privacy settings, and think critically about the apps they used. He showed them how to shut off notifications, how to track screen time. How to own their time instead of renting it out to algorithms. Sometimes he'd catch one of them watching him sideways, phone halfway hidden, and he'd smile. "Don't worry," he'd say. "I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to show you what they don't." Josh, for a while, disappeared from public life. After the hearings, after the articles and the online fury, he moved west. Oregon, maybe. Somewhere quieter. He emailed Liam once every few months, brief check-ins, half updates. "I'm teaching now," one said. "Mostly ethics in design. Feels like cheating, but maybe it helps." Liam responded occasionally. There was no need for closure, they had found it, somehow, in the wreckage. Not every friendship survives impact. Theirs did, but in a different form, not daily, not loud, but enduring. Josh's final email came almost a year to the day after the first payout. Subject: Ghost Equity. Body: I still think about that morning. You signed it like you were paying for coffee. You had no idea what it would cost us. Or save us. Weird, right? Anyway, thanks. For showing up. When it mattered. J. Liam stared at the message for a long time. Then he archived it and went back to reviewing a slide deck on safe online habits for middle schoolers. Every once in a while, he'd check QuickTask's name in the news. It faded, mostly. Occasionally resurfaced in think pieces or lawsuits, but the cycle moved on. Some other startup took its place in the spotlight. Another unicorn. Another implosion waiting to happen. Liam never went back to New York. The loft was someone else's now. The city had stopped feeling like his. But one spring, he visited DC for a conference on tech transparency. He didn't speak. Didn't sit on any panels. He just listened. At the end, a grad student approached him shyly. Were you involved with QuickTask? Liam hesitated. Then nodded. The student smiled nervously. I read about the whistleblower stuff. That must have been hard. It was, Liam said. But not as hard as doing nothing. The student nodded. I want to work in UX, but, the good kind. Liam chuckled. Start with honesty. Build from there. Later that night, he found a note slipped under his hotel door. Mr. Barrett, thank you. I didn't understand what ethics meant until I saw someone lose everything to keep their integrity. Hope you're doing okay. No name. But it felt like a second letter. A second chance. And it reminded him, some impact doesn't echo through headlines. It settles, quiet and true, in people who keep going. The founder agreement was still in Liam's drawer. Folded, creased, its corners worn. It had once been a symbol of sudden fortune, then of guilt, and now, of something else entirely. A reminder of how easily one decision could shift the direction of a life, not because of the money it promised, but because of the weight it carried. Some nights, Liam would take it out and read the line above his signature. Co-founder, Liam Barrett. It was laughable now, almost absurd. But also, weirdly, honest. Because being a founder didn't mean writing code or pitching investors. It meant taking responsibility. And, when needed, it meant letting go. In late fall, Liam gave a guest talk at a local college. He stood in front of a classroom of sleepy juniors, PowerPoint open, hands trembling just slightly. He'd been asked to speak on digital ethics, but he tossed the notes halfway through and just told them the story. Not the dramatized version. The real one. How he signed a piece of paper for a friend. How the app grew, and the shadows grew with it. How he got rich, then poor, then something more valuable, clear. He told them how tempting it is to stay silent when things get good. How easy it is to convince yourself that being uninvolved means being innocent. But silence, he said, is a choice too. And sometimes the most expensive one you'll ever make. A few students asked smart questions. One girl, toward the back, stayed after and said she wanted to start her own app one day. Something for student mental health. Then start with this question, Liam told her. Will your app help people take control, or just convince them they already have it? She smiled. That's a good one. Did you come up with it? No, Liam said. I lived it. That Christmas, Kate surprised him with a frame. Inside it, a photo of him and Josh from college, beaming over laptops and energy drinks. Next to it, printed in bold text. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. Courage is doing it when everyone is. She said she almost put his name under the quote. He told her not to. Let it belong to whoever needed it most that day. He hung it near the door. Every time he left for work, he saw it. Every time he came home tired, wondering if any of this mattered, he saw it again. It didn't make him feel noble. It just made him feel real. And for Liam Barrett, former co-founder, former bartender, former accidental millionaire, that was enough. Josh's book came out the following spring. Built to Break, How We Designed Ourselves into a Corner. It sold modestly. A few tech blogs covered it. Some people praised him. Others said he was too late. But the truth didn't need to be best-selling. It just needed to be told. Josh mailed Liam a signed copy. Inside the front cover. To the guy who signed a piece of paper and ended up changing more than he ever expected. Thanks for not staying quiet. J. Liam kept the book on a shelf next to a folder of lesson plans and a coffee mug that said, "Teach like it matters." One day, he might tell his niece the whole story. Or he might not. Some stories don't need to be shared loudly. They just need to live quietly in the people who walked through them, and came out not richer, not famous, but whole.